This video is about minerals of concern in the U.S. population. So in the U.S. population, we do have nutrients of concern based on the latest dietary guidelines for Americans, in which they reviewed the literature and actually dietary intake among people in the United States. So think for a minute about what nutrients, minerals specifically, you think that people in the United States are not consuming enough of. And on the flip side, think about which mineral are Americans likely getting too much of. Well, the too much of might be a little bit easier for you to figure out. Most people in the United States get too much sodium in their diets. And not getting enough, this one we see iron is one of a special concern, especially because of childbearing age women who need additional iron during that life stage, and partially related to menstruation. And then also thinking about calcium. So we know that calcium is really important as children are growing to be able to have good, strong bone structure and to achieve maximum peak bone mass. And again, to have that maximum accrual of bone mass during those pediatric years. But also in older adults, we know that we start losing bone losses, and you'll see more about that in the osteoporosis section. And so in that case, we need to make sure that older adults are getting calcium as well. And then the last one is potassium. So potassium is really high in whole foods, and we tend to see people, it's definitely really rich in fruits and vegetables, but other whole foods as well. And we know that the Americans are just not getting enough of those kinds of foods in their diet, so tend to have lower potassium intake and higher sodium. So I encourage you to look at the potassium sodium videos to remind yourself about kind of how those two are related to each other. And here's a summary from the Dietary Guidelines for Americans, the actual document, and you can see that here are underconsumed nutrients and nutrients of public health concern. So you might wonder, here we have magnesium as well, and we don't get enough magnesium, but the ones that are public health concern are just calcium, potassium, and iron of the minerals. There are some other nutrients here too that are low in our diets as well. So make sure you're familiar with both in the American diet and the U.S. which of these minerals people are getting too much of and which of them they're not getting enough of.